Oh hello! New quad today and much more of a traditional indoor flyer. It is the KingKong or LDARC. I'm not sure how they're going to say the new name. LDARC? LDARC? I don't know. Anyway, it is the Tiny7. Looks very much like the Tiny Whoop style, and this is the advanced pack which gives you a lot more in the box. The box has vastly improved yet again. It used to be that the boxes, you'd fit the quad in without the props on it, it'd just be all bundled about. This is now even better. Obviously the props are on and you've got moulded pieces, so this slots in really nicely and you've got bits underneath. I feel I should mention the size of this, because when you're dealing with sort of the dimensions of this, which is 75mm, versus the original Whoop size, which I think is 66 or 68mm, it doesn't sound much, but they do make a difference. And when you go up to 100mm, the difference between small and big is actually quite a lot. This is the ET100 I reviewed not so long ago. I actually thought this would be a little bit big indoors, but it flew really nicely. Now the little E010 frame fitted round indoors very nicely. It always felt a little bit underpowered. 6mm brushed motors in those ones. This 75mm has the 7mm brushed motors, which I generally find to be about the sweet spot for indoors. This is obviously the brushless version, but this is, as I said, it's the advanced version, so it comes with more batteries and things. Now they were out of the FreeSky version when I asked for this, so this is actually the FlySky version, which works on PPM. I have got a whole bunch of these little D8 compatible receivers, so I might install one of those, or I might try it flying it at FlySky, see how it does. The other stuff you've got in the box, in this little packet, we have 5 lipos, and these are really good lipos. These are the Goning 1 cell 450 milliamp hours. So these look really good quality, and I'm really pleased they've upped their game on the battery a little bit. Other stuff in the box. You'll notice this is the yellow livery. Well, you've got the option of changing it to pink, red or white with the corresponding props as well, which is quite nice. I suppose if you had a bunch of these and you all got together to race them around, it would be great to all have your own colours, so that's quite a nice little touch. One of these little prop spanner things, these look push fitted, so you wouldn't want to be trying to bring them up from that side, so hopefully that'd be quite useful. Got a few spare bits and bobs, some screws, some washers. And another nice thing in here as well. What we have in there is this little charging board, which you can either, there's an XT60 here to put a 2 to 4S LiPo in, or USB here. And then we have 5 charging circuits with switches to switch between 200 and 500 milliamp hours, which is pretty nice. There's not a lot of people have the little 1S charging things unless they use a single USB lead. Finally, some instructions, basic stuff on here, give you the information about the board. As far as the flight controller goes, one little weird thing, which I guess it's because of the size of it, is the USB connection is under there, which is an odd place to plug in. But yeah, let's plug in and find out what we got here, and then we can charge things up, take it for a fly. That'd be fun. Now, I actually filmed the intro in the week before Christmas, and I'm sitting here now on the 8th of January, so a little bit of a gap there where I've only just managed to get out and fly it because of all the, Christmas hecticness. But what I found is this little receiver, the FlySky one. I was thinking I could fly with this old module. This is from my original Turner G9X I had, so it's a FlySky module, and I expected to put that in the back of my Tyrannus and be able to go ahead and fly. But then I found this wouldn't bind, and this is because this is a slightly more up-to-date protocol, so it doesn't work on the really old stuff like the 9X, but will work on the newer stuff. So I believe if you've got something like the FlySky i6, you're okay. So I swapped this over for the old D8 compatible FreeSky receiver and bound that up to my Tyrannus. Just putting the receiver in, it's not, well, it's not hard, but it's a little bit fiddly. This board is mounted on these sort of rubber, sort of floaty type washers. I think it's supposed to kind of half soft mount it and half keep it off the frame. And aside from having to do some soldering on the board and stuff, it's actually, I found it a little bit fiddly to get the board mounted back on easily and stuff, so don't take that apart unless you really have to. So obviously I had to make a few changes on Betaflight, and because I found Betaflight was on 3.0.1 I think, I thought that's a really early version, so I updated to the latest. Normally I'd fly on what we had, but it was so far behind I thought there was no point in that. It was set up so it would have an arm switch and then the entire thing was just angle, so it only had one mode. I changed that so I had acro, angle and horizon, and I had the option of air mode. Doesn't have a beeper, so I thought I'd have 2 self-level modes. Normally with these little things in a confined space, I find angle is my preferred flying method. Normally I'm really quite aggressive about telling people fly acro, fly acro, but when you're in a compressed space and you're having to stop all the time, yeah, I find a self-level mode actually much better, especially in these tiny little things. So charged up those 5 batteries and gave it a fly, and here's how it went. So off we go for the first lipo, and it's really useful to have 5 because you're often a little bit, well, feeling out how it feels and works basically in the first battery. And it took, you know, a minute or two just to make sure you had the throttle right and felt like it was aiming the right direction. During that time I bumped into stuff. But that you get over that pretty quick. So here's later in the first battery, and it's feeling pretty good. So I sort of stretched its legs and take it upstairs just to see how the VTX and reception is. And I'd expect it to be okay in the house. As you see there, you get a little bit of breakup. Here's the office/cave, which is a right old mess. So the thing it really didn't like doing is descending through the prop washer. You see a little bit of a wobble. It's more of a feeling. You can sort of handle it and do some stuff with the sticks, but there's a little bit of instability there, but nothing too bad. One thing I instantly noticed on the camera is you've got quite a lot of the frame in view. Now I noticed that initially, but then once you start focusing on where you're going, that kind of disappears. But just watching it back here again, it looks like you've got an awful lot of that in view. So you'll certainly notice it in playback, but not necessarily as you're flying. But one thing to be mindful of, just in case that sort of thing winds you up and you've got too much frame in view. Now this is all on angle. Now I did try the other modes. I did some acro flying and it felt a little bit unstable because it's in such a confined space. What's more fun to do is shove it back into angle and just pull a couple of chairs out and things just to make a bit of an obstacle course, see what you can take it through. I spent a lot of times squeezing through gaps, finding, you know, weird things to land on, just generally hurtling around the house. We're on battery number 3 here, so I'm a little bit more confident about how it works and how it handles, and it's particularly good at holding steady when you can bring it in and turn it around. So when you're in a really tight corner, you can take it in a tight corner and literally spin it on the spot using quite a fast yaw, and it just handles it really nicely. So that bit I'm really quite pleased about. So if you're interested in flying this sort of quad outside, I opened up the door as it wasn't raining for a change and had a quick fly around. Now one thing to take into account is in this particular lap of the garden there is absolutely no wind, and with no wind this does well. You get a little bit more interference from the exterior walls being a bit thicker, but control range is fine, video is fine, not a problem. However, I did a couple of laps where I went out and there was just a little bit of a breeze and it really blew this little thing around. So think of it as a quick, you know, go out the window, come back through the door, but I wouldn't spend any serious time outdoors. Now I should apologise as well if you see me suddenly go up the stairs and then cut to coming down the stairs. Nothing untoward happened. I just had to recut the video because my wife asked me not to broadcast all our bedrooms on the internet anymore. So yeah, that's just going in and out of rooms quickly. A great little flight from this little quad, I think, and a good 5 minutes per battery. Well, this turned out to be a really nice little fly. It seems a step up above the normal Tiny Whoop because these 7mm motors just give a little bit more oomph. They're not crazy power, but you don't have to. In the old Tiny Whoop style, every time you made a turn it's like flicking the throttle all the way up. This is much more like a sort of more regular quad in terms that you can manage the throttle a lot easier. That said, they still really hate descending through their prop wash, and if you go too near a wall, that wash again tends to bounce off the wall and you find yourself getting sucked into it because they're little tiny light things. So aside from this flying quite nicely in general, 2 things I really liked in this pack was this charger. This multi-charger thing's really good. I just connected it by a USB connector. If you've got like an iPhone charger which puts out 2.2 amps, it has no problem pushing all 5 of these out, and of course if you're out and about you can just pop a 3 or 4S LiPo in there, or even a 2S if you've got them, and just start charging up again. It's even got a very smaller adapter if you've got those those original Tiny Whoop batteries, those really teeny ones. I must say as well, the fact it comes with 5 really decent batteries is really good. These, I was landing after about 5 minutes because I started feeling it kind of sagging a little bit and losing power. But I never ran out of power. Normally with these things I just expect to fly along and suddenly go splat onto the floor. These, 5 minutes, no matter what sort of conditions I was flying, I could fly really hard, I still get 5 minutes out of these. And the fact you've got 5 of them, it means it gives you a real significant amount of enjoyment to fly around and do stuff. Not have to do one battery, take it away, charge it again, or buy other batteries that may not be as good or whatever. Really nice touch. So I suppose the debate is, does a brushed quad still have a place nowadays? Now everything is shrinking down for brushless. And one of the arguments about it is that a brush motor just doesn't last as long. It's sort of rated in terms of hours. Now that said, and you know, this isn't scientific, this is purely anecdotal, I've got quite a few brushed quads over the past couple of years for testing out and things, and I've yet to actually wear a motor out. I think I might have smashed one up or seized one, but they all seem to be going okay. So far these have been going fine, and the good thing about them is they're very cheap to replace, of course. So yeah, I think you can still do it. I mean, if there's a brushless quad this size and it costs the same and performs the same, then I'd probably go brushless, but generally they're a bit more expensive and they're not quite on the same level. Now at this size, it's really good for indoors. Outside, unless you've got absolute stillness, I wouldn't bother. Do something like the ET100, the bigger one, which won't be as good inside but will manage wind outside. So compromises again. But for inside, for just going crazy around your furniture and stuff, I found this really good. Better than the original 68mm type tiny whoops, and I know you can get crazy stupid motors on them and do things, but out of the box sort of thing. Very nice, really enjoyed it. Like that, I'll be flying it some more. So this is the KingKong, or the LDARC Tiny7, and this is the advanced pack, which means you get all those extra bits in the box, like the charger and the batteries and the numerous props and things in different colours. This was supplied for review by the nice folks at Banggood, so thanks very much for them. Of course, if you want to check it out, I'll have a link down below, so be sure to click on that if you want to take a look, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.